Hi, it's Joanna again. I'm here for video number 2 of what every project director needs to know. Here to tell you a bit more about how to best communicate with the Calvin Institute of Christian Worship over this year and some tips for administering your project over the next year. So to start with, communicating with the Worship Institute. Here is the, the team, the Vital Worship Grants team, Cindy, Katrina, Kathy, and I. You can communicate with all of us using the same email address right up here, worshipgrants@calvin.edu. Using that email address means that we can all see the same communication. When we receive an email, Kathy reads it first as the team leader, and then she delegates it to one of the members of the team, which might include her. You can see under each of our names the general areas in which we work. So Cindy's going to respond to emails about travel or reimbursements or your checks or PandaDoc. Satrina is going to respond primarily around budgets and budget revision. She's the budget whiz. And she's also quite familiar with the grant management system, so she may respond to those emails. Kathy is going to respond to emails about program questions or leadership of the grant project. And I might respond to program questions, event questions, or questions about the grant management system. So again, you can access all of us at worshipgrants@calvin.edu. That's going to be the fastest, most efficient way to get a response. Communication and collaboration are among the most important and the most challenging aspects of running a grant project. Let's start with communicating with us at CICW. The key ways you'll communicate your learning with us is through those reports. The mid-year report, the final report, and then of course your one-page summaries. But also we welcome questions or celebrations or pictures, anything you want to share with us. We love to see that. Also, if you're struggling with something, don't hesitate to email us at worshipgrants@calvin.edu to ask for help. It's very important to communicate within your team and your congregation. This is especially important to facilitate buy-in to the project. When you applied for the grant project, you listed a team of people who collaborated to create the proposal and a list of people who will be part of the implementation team. And there may or may not have been overlap there. So certainly you're going to be in good communication with that team as you implement the project, but also in good communication with your organization and congregation. You know your congregation best, so you know the best ways to communicate with them, whether that be email, social media, paper, announcements, or a combination of all of those. I've found communicating with students that I really need a multifaceted approach. Some students check email, some students check Instagram, some students need a direct text. So you need to be responsive to your contacts in that way. And it is challenging, but we're confident that you know your contacts better than we do. You also have the opportunity to communicate and collaborate with one another. There's a closed Facebook group. You can access it using this URL. And what you can go request to join the group, we'll approve you, and then you can crowdsource information, you can share pictures, you can post about your events. It's a great way to encourage one another and be encouraged. When you communicate with us, we ask that you use your grant number. So memorize your grant number. You can find it on any of the emails that we have sent to you. Your grant number starts with either WC for Worshiping Communities or TS for Teacher Scholars. The numbers after that indicate the year that your grant project starts. So it might be Worshiping Communities 23 or Teacher Scholar 22. So that'll be your whole cohort kind of shares that part. And then after the dash is the number that's unique to your project. So WC 2205 might be your number. And we ask that you put your grant number in the subject line of all emails. It just helps us keep track of who is responding. It helps us track communication that's happened over time and be able to look at like those threads. So it will make us so very happy if you use those grant numbers when you communicate with us. Emails will come from us from two different email addresses. The worshipgrants@calvin.edu is our main email address. The administrator at grantinterface.com is when we send emails from Foundant. So that's the online grant management system. So reminders, to fill out follow-up forms, responses to follow-up forms. You will get some very important information from that email address. So make sure you mark it as safe in your email because it can occasionally go to spam. If you hit reply to an email that comes from administrator@grantinterface.com, it will go to worshipgrants@calvin.edu. So you can communicate with us using replying to either of these. But if you're sending an email, you should always send it to worshipgrants@calvin.edu and include your grant number. These are some of the key things that you will communicate with us about. Requesting advertising approval. So anytime you advertise something, especially outside of your organization, you need to use this wording right here. You can find it on our website too for a nice, easy copy paste. And this is important for to attribute the funds that came from us, but then also that were provided to us by the Lilly Endowment. For the first time you advertise something within your congregation or organization, we recommend using this, but you don't have to put it in like every single newspaper or bulletin announcement. Okay, so you'll request advertising approval as needed. You'll send us, just send us the poster or send us the social media post so we can see what it looks like and make sure that this advertising approval language is correct. You will email us to request budget revisions, and Satrina is covering that in another video. It's very important. You should continue taking photos for your poster, which I covered in the last video, and continue to review your own timeline, which you can access on the website or in the online grant management system in your dashboard. We already did this. Aren't we amazing? Key leadership skills that you'll just want to keep in mind as you administer this project over the next year. Organize. You submitted a timeline when you proposed your project. So, you're not tied to that. You're not, it's not set in stone, but it's a good guideline. When you finish something, look right to the next thing because it's going to come faster than you think. Delegate. Again, we expect that you're part of a team, so use that team. This is not a one-person project. It's a whole congregation or a whole organization project. So use the people in your organization. It's a great way to build buy-in too. People are excited about the project when you give them things to do within the project. Plan ahead. Like I just said, things come quickly. A year turns out to be very short. So look ahead and evaluate. We recommend evaluating after every key event. And you may find that in evaluating something you just did, you noticed a lot of energy around something, or you were surprised by something, you want to follow that energy. And so evaluating that well gives you the opportunity to maybe make some adjustments to your project that are going to serve you well in the long run, and that's where the budget revisions might come in. Sometimes this gets hard. Sometimes you run into challenges you didn't realize. Sometimes you just have questions. We offer consulting and coaching with our team. Again, if you are interested in that, you're going to email worshipgrants@calvin.edu, and you're going to include your grant number in the subject line, and we'll get back to you. We'll set up a Zoom call or a phone call, or we can do some by email, depending on what works best for you. Frequently asked questions. Can we apply next year? No. Since the applications happen in January, you'll actually be in the middle of your grant project. So we don't want you applying while you're still in the middle of a project. Take a year off, finish one, bask in it, absorb the learning, and see what God is calling you to next. And so you have to take a year off in between grant projects. Can we have an extension? No. We have found that when we offer extensions, when we have offered extensions in the past, the energy just sort of fizzles. It's best to keep it as a year project, keep that energy going. You know right now that it's a year-long project, so you can adjust accordingly. Can we increase the amount of the grant? No. Well, the amount that's been approved is the amount of the grant. You can make adjustments within that, but you can't increase it. This is where I get to start saying yes. Can we change our project? Yes. I inferred this before. You might find that the energy is going in a certain direction and you want to follow it. You might find that somebody had a great idea that is going to serve your project, and you can follow that. The thing that we ask is that it always continues to build that key goal. So what you put in questions 1 and 2 of your application, what's the goal? So any new changes need to serve that goal. And you can you can submit budget revisions accordingly. Can we use funds for things not in the budget? Yes. But you'll need to submit a budget revision, more on that in the next video, and it should, again, serve the goals of the project. Can we receive the second half of the funds before submitting the mid-year report? No, you need to submit the mid-year report, and we need to process it before we're going to send the second half of the grant funds. We do find most projects are heavier on the second half of the year. If you're heavier on spending in the first half of the year, you might have to do some negotiating, like borrowing from the church budget and paying it back or something like that. So just plan accordingly. So again, communicate with us as much as you need. Communicate with us using the email address worshipgrants@calvin.edu and include your grant number in the subject line. We look forward to hearing from you.